For some reason, I really didn't want to film this video, and I think it's probably because I've just been postponing it time and time again, but no more. I was gonna just further postpone it by saying, I'm gonna go to the toilet before filming it, but no. Now I'm definitely all the way in since I've taken the thumbnail before starting this clip. So I wanted to keep myself accountable and explain why there haven't been any food log reviews like how I'd usually do, and it's something that I've been wanting to do, a habit that I've been wanting to build. Probably, I think it's just overwhelm. Very basically, if I could answer it in one word, it's that just overwhelmed from doing this and everything else, with all the other sorts of videos, and the fact that I'm going to be moving really, really soon into this completely different area. Now, I've lived in an area like it before, but it's not anything similar to this sort of environment that I'm currently living in, and I'm definitely going out my way to study it. Preparing for this move and making all the videos I say I'd want to make, I've been finding it difficult to keep track of everything, especially with the sort of plans I make, which are very much just on the day or the night before, and not weekly like how I used to do. I think it's very much because of, as I said, overwhelm, but also lack of persistence with keeping up with such things. And it just, as I think about it now, this lack of persistence that I'd show toward making progress with things in my life it has been rearing its head for a while now, but I've decided to not pay attention to the signs. And I think the reason why I haven't is because I just haven't had this sort of mindset on the lack of persistence as I do now. I think I've thought about persistence before, I'm almost certain I have, but maybe not in this way in which I've come up with examples in my mind of how I'm showing a lack of persistence. And there are definitely quite a few ways within the channel alone. For example, the food log reviews, I stopped doing them, and the lack of daily exercise logs in which I'm actually exercising and not just making a video of me talking. I've stopped doing my weekly health reviews for months now. What else? These are things that I've been wanting to do on a regular basis. So although I could say I haven't been filming serious videos on a daily basis or on a regular basis, it's not something that I plan to do. So I'm definitely okay with that. But as for these things that I've mentioned, it's obvious that my lack of persistence is there's signs of it, and that's just within the channel alone. That's excluding all of the other things that I started in pursuit of trying to make my way of life more ideal somehow, and try to make myself progress through something somehow, but just did not stick to. For example, learning different languages is something that is a hobby that I claim I'd like but wouldn't do, and I wouldn't stick to. And chess is another one of those in which I'd want to do for myself to help develop as a person, but I just would not stick to it due to lack of persistence, and also I'd say lack of structure through not doing it on a daily basis enough, to the point where I'd eventually just forget it, because in my mind there'd be things that would be of higher priority. Now, although I'm not against that, I would like to say that if I am going to do something and I'm going to really want to progress with it long term, and I want to do it on a regular basis long term, as with all of the things I mentioned, then that was the case for all of the things I mentioned, then it's up to me to actually stick to it even when I don't want to do it. Now, I've said that before I didn't want to film it, but now that I've started, it's just flowing. It's just going to be a one-time thing, or just every now and then to keep myself accountable. And I don't know when I'd start, because I've got so many different things on my mind that I do, not only for the channel but in my life off camera. And it can definitely, especially with my lack of persistence that I've practiced and lack of just experience with staying persistent, perhaps from not doing it enough, then perhaps I'm just going to keep on staying at this point, at this level of progress where I would be able to make short-term progress, but I wouldn't be able to really take it to the next level. And in order to do that and to keep on progressing and working through plateaus, I think they're genuinely, oh no, it's okay, no, it's fine. I think there are genuinely going to have to be times when I don't want to do things from an emotional standpoint, or let me try again. There may be times when I don't want to do things from an emotional standpoint, but from a rational standpoint, I would want to, both short and long term. And in order to get to that point where I make real progress with such things like weekly health reviews, like daily food log reviews, like learning a different language and doing chess, then I have to push past that and not necessarily dismiss the way how I think about things from an emotional standpoint short term, but to understand where I'm coming from on that basis from an emotional standpoint, but to also understand where I'm coming from a rational basis and take both of them into account. And perhaps if I do that, then I would be able to stick to doing things more. But I tackle the emotional standpoint first because it seems like that is where my lack of persistence lies, not at least not only in the lack of thought behind how I'd stick to doing said things. It's okay to not want to do things from an emotional standpoint every now and then due to experiencing overwhelm, for example, but I wouldn't even necessarily get to that point if I didn't allow myself to think, why is it that I'm feeling the way I'm feeling about something? Why is it that, for example, with making this video, why is it that I believed that I felt overwhelmed or didn't want to do it? After postponing it for a while, why is it that I believe I have a difficult time doing things that I've postponed to do? Why is that? What sense does that make? And I don't say that with malice or to give myself a difficult time to beat myself up about it. I say that coming from a place where I genuinely want to understand where I'm coming from. Why is it that in my mind I think it's potentially more difficult to do something I've postponed compared to a task that I've just set myself, for example? Why is that the case? How does that work? Maybe there are studies on it, and maybe there is scientific research on the matter of psychology, but then again, I could also touch on that on the premise that I'm not educating my mind on a daily basis on such things. Then I'm just going to stay at the place where I'm at, where I definitely do have it I do have it in me to want to progress and to live ideally, or what I consider to be ideally, and I'd act on that, but only to an extent where, although I am making short-term progress, I'm not doing enough to be able to keep on doing that making that short-term progress over and over again, to then make it long-term progress over a month and then a year and then so on. Bit by bit, it's up to me to understand why is it that I think I'd find it so difficult to do such things. I just think I've experienced something which is spoken about in basic psychology books in the A-level one. It's called a Freudian slip, where I just said why I find it so difficult to do such things rather than why I think I find it so difficult to do such things. And this idea is slipping up on words purposely because within that slip up, you say what you're actually thinking subconsciously rather than what you're thinking in the foreground rationally, consciously. Yeah, but yeah, very basically, I think it's very much perhaps overwhelmed and not listening to that enough and understanding where I'm coming from, both in that regard and also rationally, like I said. And It's definitely something I could learn about through psychology, and understand what it takes to create behavioral change. It, I've just understood that I didn't explicitly state to myself that that's what I've been looking for, with all of these things, like doing these daily food log reviews. That's what it is. Acting out a certain behavior on a regular basis, coming from a place of not doing that, which would be behavioral change. But yeah, anyway, I think I'll leave it there because I'm starting to get a headache. So yeah, that's it. I'm done, and I can think about when I'd start doing the daily log reviews, the daily food log reviews again. I'll probably start maybe tomorrow or something, or even tonight, and then I'll take it from there. But yeah, that's it. I'm done on this last note. If I start tomorrow, I might just make that easier for myself to just postpone doing XYZ over and over again, just put myself in that cycle. So maybe I could also learn about cycles of how I postpone things over and over again, and then not do the things I'd claim I would want to do. But yeah, I'm finished now. Peace. Cheers to further learning about myself in this regard, and in every aspect of life. Yeah, peace.